All right, back in the part 3 of this video. They're kind of separate, but they're all connecting uh, in one entity at the end of the day. Just to show the differences between in the technological advancements of World War One, Two, and Three, and also the timeline that we're now in. You know, those other two woes have passed. Matter of fact, let me go right into the scripture with it. Um, let's go right into it. Because I'm going to read this because this just proves that that we're in those last days, man. That World War III ends uh, this captivity for the Israelites, man. You know that this is the time of the deliverance. That this is another prophecy coming to pass of World War III. Donald Trump dropping missiles over there in Syria. The warning, the stiff warning that Vladimir Putin had given that any attack on Syria was like a personal attack on them, on Russia. You know, so it's the chess match, man. Back and forth. We see what's going on. So I'm gonna go into the scripture, uh, Revelation chapter 11. Start up at 14. It says, "The second woe is past." It's a lot. Anyway, it says, "The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly." Yeah, that's the first woe is already past, and the third woe cometh quickly. Yeah, and this one's coming right back to back, 1914, or you could say 1918, depending on when you say that First World War started. The 1930s, World War II, you know, and into the early 40s, the end of the 30s into the 40s, and then now on into this, you know, World War III in 2017. The early stages of this war has just been kicked off. They've been building up the drums of war back and forth, and now the stomping and the hoorah of all the troops are gathered up right now. So um and matter of fact, let me go to this right quick, um because I gotta continue to bring this out, um because this isn't a regular war as wars used to be fought. There was a major advancement in technological um in technology. It says, Isaiah 9 and 5, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood," hand to hand combat, you know, with swords and shields, you know, and then eventually into to rifles and trenches. And now it says here, it says, "But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." Yeah, but this war will be with burning and fuel of fire. It's not going to be a conventional man to man. You see your enemy across the line and shoot him. This one is shot. This one's going to be a long distance war, you know, where you never get up close and personal and see the death in the eyes of your enemies, you know, as you take them down. So that proves that this is World War III because there hadn't been another battle like that as of yet. Okay, so we're going to go back into Revelation. I think I want to go into uh, the 20th chapter. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna start up at the 20th chapter. Yep. It says, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna start verse 2. It said, and he, well, I'll read verse 1. It says, "And he saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years." And that 1,000 years was the Dark Ages, with the taking down of the Roman Empire, the iron part of the Roman Empire, and then came the Dark Ages, you know, Septimius Severus and all of that. Then came the Dark Ages of the Holy Roman Empire, or better yet, the Byzantine Empire, where the Negroes, so-called Negroes, the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the so-called Negroes, Haitians, and West Indians, when they were still in Europe, ruled Europe for a period of 1,000 years. You know, those are called also the Dark Ages. You know, where they sat on all the thrones of Western Europe in particular, in Spain and so on and so forth. And that's when religion was divided between Christianity and and Islam, you know, with the Moors, right? So you could do your research on that whole time period if you choose, you know. But anyway, so that brings us up to this point. So that brings a timestamp or a timetable on what's going on. It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit, which is Europe, you know, in the caves of Europe, the Caucasus Mountains back there, right? And shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should receive, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. And we're in that little season now. It says, but the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. It says, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. You know, on such the death had no power, but they shall be priests of the Most High and of Yahushua, and reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go to deceive the nations which are the four quarters of the earth, which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, which is modern day Russia now, right? To gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Should I read? Yeah, matter of fact, I'm going to stop right there, and then I'm going to jump over to, matter of fact, yeah, so stay on point with that. I'm going to jump over to Joel, the 3rd chapter, just to bring the gravity of it all together. Start up at 9. Yeah, Joel 3 and 9, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Right? Let the weak say, I am strong. That's these weaker nations such as Syria, such as Iran, such as North Korea, that were China's that were weak, that are gonna all turn on America. You know, that Babylon, the great whore, they're gonna turn on this country, and up their military might, because they haven't, just because America hit the apex of their power with their nuclear weapons, these other countries hadn't had that technology yet. You know, they were in subject until they can get to that point. And now with Russia back in their interest, you know, of these smaller countries, that's when the weak say, I am strong, you know. And they're all preparing war, and this is that time that they're preparing war, and they're waking up the mighty men, the Kim Jong Ils, and or Un. I always get them mixed up with the son of Kim Jong that passed away a few years back. He's one of the mighty warriors. Vladimir Putin is another mighty man of war, right? That they're waking up, and they're coming into their right mind of war. That they have to go to this war with the United States of America, man. You know, but the ultimately is Yahweh Bashim Al-Shah, the Most High God, Yahweh, who's putting the spirit on these people, man. Putting the spirit on these mighty men to destroy this place, man, so he could deliver his saints and set up his kingdom of righteousness. You know? Reading on, it says, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Yep, because the Most High is going to judge all the heathen round about. It says, verse 13, put ye in a sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Yeah, now's that time. America's weak right now, and the other nations have come up as superpowers upon the earth. Well, they're not really superpowers, but they come up with with defense systems to combat America's weaponry, their technological advances. They come up with it, whether it be with the uranium or the advancement of the missiles. But when they piece it all together, they all have the technology to defend themselves against the United States of America. You know, it says, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get ye down. And Salaki, when it talked about the plowshares, man, those were agricultural countries that have now changed their focus from agriculture and commerce into being war countries, man, because they know they have to come across this beast. Back when the Bushes, I'll say it that way, were creating havoc in the Middle East, you know, whether it be with this war on terror or whatever they want to call it, that's when they realized, well, we got to get ourselves together, man, to protect ourselves, whether that's George H.W. or Judge W. You know, they have to protect themselves, so they begin their technological advances, and they start making deals with the bigger countries, the superpowers, the other military superpowers out there, that could help aid them in protecting themselves against the United States of America. Because this man has been going around basically punking everybody, knocking certain countries out just to take their resources when they wanted them. Oh, you're not going to give me your gas? Well, I'm going to come through and take it. I'm going to bomb you, then I'm going to take the gas. Oh, you're not going to give me your poppy fields? Well, I'm going to come through and take it. Doing pretty much, and I'm going to set up my regime over there, my embassies and everything over there. And that's what they've been doing. It says, yeah. Anyway, jumping back down, just as a small inkling of what's going on. Anyway, jumping back down, it says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get ye down, for the press is full, the fat overflow, for their wickedness is great. Yeah, basically the wine press, man, is ready to be pressed. Now's that time. How can you not discern this time according to the book of Luke? You see the signs in the heavens. How do you know that this ain't the time for World War III, the time that the Lord's coming back? How do you not discern this time? You know? It continues on to say, multitudes in the valley of decision. Yeah, this is going to be the valley of decision. And Jehoshaphat, meaning Yahweh Shaphat, you know, the Most High's judgment. And, you know, but it's also going to be the valley of decision on whether he's making a decision of salvation, and, you know, and what he's gonna judge the whole world through that Middle East. That's the valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Yeah, the day of the Lord is near. It says, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Now we're gonna get into that, because those are those weapons that's gonna cause that darkening. It's gonna be spiritually dark. It's gonna be a grim outlook for everybody when this goes on. If anybody's paying attention, these are those early signs that something devastating is coming. And it's only devastating to you that want this society to continue and live in this with the situation as it is. But for us, the hopeful elect, this is that time, man. This is when we begin to rejoice. This is when you have no more energy and your muscles are locking up and you're in a race and you're still pushing on. This is overtime right here. This is when that final possession, you know, you got to get a basket down in the clutch, or you got to get the stop on defense down in the clutch. This is that last moment that will decide the game right here. This is the beginning of it, you know, so you got to make these count. Anyway, let me go back right quick. Book of Revelation, and I was in 20. I don't remember what verse I was in, but let's see, what verse was I in? I was in 8. But that Gog and Magog is the same Gog and Magog written up. Matter of fact, I'll just get it. Let me read that again. 20 and 8. Read it again, then I'm going to go to Ezekiel. It said, and it shall go and shall go out and deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Right? And that's the same Gog and Magog. I'm gonna go into it. Just it's always better to grab it. Book of Ezekiel 38. Start at 1. I think it's in 2. Yeah, it said, verse 2. It says, "Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him." It said, "And say, thus saith the Lord, O power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and will bring forth." Yeah, when you put hooks into somebody's jaws, a fish or whoever, or a horse or a wild beast, whatever it is, you completely control that. If you can control the jaws of an animal, you can completely control that animal. It says, "And will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, and a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya, with them, all of them with shields and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togomar, and of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them." Talking about Russia, be a guard unto those smaller nations that said, "When I am weak, I am made strong." That's why Vladimir Putin said, if an attack on Syria will be taken as an attack on Russia itself. Now, it's his move now. We got to see what that actually means, if he's going to hold to his word. And Syria has provoked it, but the Most High is controlling it. He got the jaws in their hooks and making these people, the kings of the earth, and making them make these decisions to play into the hand of the Most High. It says, "After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter days thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of people against the mountains of Israel." Which, when Israel comes back, but it's brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Okay, so let's go back into the book of Revelation 20. Go back up to 8, and it said, "And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners," so like the four quarters of the earth, all the four winds of the earth, the four corners of the earth, the four quarters of the earth, north, south, east, west, all over the world. They're all going to come into the valley of Jehoshaphat, into the Middle East, to have this final world's war. Anyway, it says, it said, "The number of whom is as the sand of the sea," because he's going to judge the whole world with what happens in that valley over there, right? It says, I'm going up to 10, right? Yeah, it said no. Yeah, it says, "And they went up." It says, "And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, in the beloved city, and fire came down from the Most High out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone." That lake of fire and brimstone is the fire from those missiles going off. And that lake of fire is actually America, because from space, or from an aerial view, it's going to look like America was a lake around darkness, a lake of fire around the darkness around it, which would be the oceans that surround America, that didn't burn, right? It was going to look like a lake, like it's not going to just kind of continue to consume like it would if it was in Europe and certain parts of the Middle East, and in the Mediterranean, or Africa, or wherever else in the Eastern world. It would just continue to catch on to other lands and just continue burning. And I'll show you the image. I think I still have that image. Yep, right here. This would be that lake of fire. Right, come on. We don't want to add them on online. Yeah, ask for that. Actually, I don't know why it popped up. But anyway, yeah, this is that lake of fire right there, right? from space is going to look like a lake of fire when you look down from the chariots. Or if you have an aerial view, which I believe the other nations are going to have their satellites still, or they're going to have a view of it and they're going to see the smoke that come up from the earth. But the scriptures will get into that in just a moment. But that's what it's going to look like. See how that's a lake that goes around, where it's contained in a certain area. That America's moat around America that protects America will become the borders that won't let that fire consume the other parts of the world. It'll encapsulate it into that one concentrated area. Right? So let's go back. hmm And just to say it, this event was the first slap in the face, or the first swing, or the first strike in war, to create this war. Donald Trump set the missiles. Well, you can say that Syria set it off by gassing and bombing people, but they knew that America would respond, because this is all playing into the hands of the Most High. You can see the big picture, right? And so the 50 missiles, cruise and Tomahawk missiles over there, those are the first beginning stages of war, right? Yep, yep. So let's go back now and back into the scripture. It says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone. Yeah, this whole so-called white man's captivity is going down. The Edomites, their captivity is going down. And when we say that so you people can understand, of who physically this man is upon the earth. But it's not encapsulated by a color of flesh, because the spirit of a man isn't encapsulated by a flesh, but his of a color of flesh is encapsulated by flesh, but not by a color of flesh. So when you look at the overall picture, it's about the spirit that's in the man, and these Edomites, his kingdom will go down with this event. Yep. It says, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Right? Yeah, so now we're gonna pause this one here, and gonna finish this one up right here, and then go into the last part.